Good morning, sir. Good morning, leaders. I am Lorna S. Paroni, and we are the Group 6, and our report is all about speaking. So before we proceed to our topic, let's discuss our learning outcomes. So in this chapter, you are expected to, first, discuss the importance of speaking. Second, identify activities that promote the speaking skill of the students. Third, explain the teaching speaking model. Fourth, select differentiated learning tasks in teaching speaking to suit learners' needs, interests, and experiences. Fifth, prepare a learning plan in teaching of speaking. And sixth, develop rubrics that assess students' speaking competency. So next, we will proceed to the lesson 1, understanding speaking. So the question is, why do we speak? So first is to convey our thoughts. Second, to persuade people. Third is to inspire people and spur them into action. So when we see speaking, speaking is the process of building and sharing meaning through the use of verbal and non-verbal symbols in a variety of contexts. That is in Channel 1998. So speaking is complex because speakers are involved in a rapid and dynamic process incurring a high element of doing various things at the same time. That is in Johnson 1996. So it describes speaking as a combinatorial skill. So when we say combinatorial thinking, it is a visual thinking that tends to promote the merging or mixing of or separating configurative ideas into a new unified whole. So that involves doing the various things at the same time, including the nonverbal communication skills like listening, eye contact, and body language. So next is the 3 skills need to develop effective speaker. So this part belong to Miss Wena, but she can't do her part. It's because of her job. So I am the one to discuss it. So now, let's discuss the 3 skills need to develop effective speaker. So first is the vocabulary. So being a good speaker means constantly expanding your vocabulary. So to be able to speak effectively, you have to acquire enough words to say and what you want to say to make you more capable of delivering exactly what you want to convey. So the best way is to read, because reading is an effective way to improve our vocabulary. So next is the grammar. So the fewer grammar mistake you make, the more effective is your speech. So however, your grammar doesn't need to be 100% accurate to be an effective speaker. What is important is the accuracy to the message that you convey while speaking. So next is the pronunciation. So pronunciation is divided into large categories. So the segmentals, or what we call the phonemes, the suprasegmentals, or the prosodic features. So when we say pronunciation or the segmentals, so it features of speech are discrete units that can be auditory identified in the speech stream, such as consonant and vowels, while the suprasegmentals are speech techniques that apply segments such as stress, intonation, and the rhythm. So yan yung pagkakaiba ng segmental and the suprasegmental. So when we say segmentals, it is the vowels and consonant. Then the suprasegmentals are the stresses and the intonation or the rhythm. So next is the speech register. So speech register refer to the level of formality and style in speaking anchored on different situations and context. So speech register, as people speak, they use different speech register. So in determining the type of speech register, you have to consider the purpose of your speech. So just like why am I speaking? So to the audience. So next is who am I speaking? And the occasion or what is the event. So next is the 5 types of speech register. So first is the frozen or fixed register. So this type of register is often used and in very formal ceremonies and must be said the same each time we say it. So the example of frozen or fixed register are the Shakespearean plays and the Philippine National Anthem, the Lord's Prayer, the preamble of the Philippine Constitution, and our laws. So next is the formal register. So formal register, it is used in formal settings and is usually impersonal. So formal register are speeches or announcements, mga sermons and pronouncements by the judges. The speaker was technical and academic vocabulary, uses complete sentences, avoids slang, and may use technical or academic vocabulary. So next, the third is the consultative. So consultative, this is the standard form of communication. So when we say consult or casual or consultative register, the speaker uses the participation and feedback of the listener. So situation using consultative register are just like the doctor and patient, lawyer and client, the teacher and student, and the counselor and the client. Next is the casual register. So casual register, this is an informal speech, usually between friends or colleagues who have things to share. So casual register happen among buddies, teammates, or groupmates, blogs, and messages to friends. So that is usually used in the casual register. So next, the last is the intimate register. So intimate register, it is a conversation between two very close individuals. So intimate register, it describes by the economy of words. So with a high chance of nonverbal communication. Intimate register usually occur between husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, parent and childhood, and siblings. So that's all the 5 types of speech register. So next reporter, please.
Good morning, leaders. Good morning, Sir Chan. I am Benji Palomilio. So, my topic for today is first the speech act. A speech act is performed when a person offers an example of apology, greeting, request, compliment, invitation, and refusal. John Austin was a language philosopher who developed the speech act theory. There are 3 kinds of action that can be performed by speech. These are locutionary act, illocutionary act, and perlocutionary act. When we say locutionary act, it is an utterance or a sound or speech. It is the actual of saying something for communication to take place. An illocutionary act, it is the purpose or intention of what is said. And the last, perlocutionary act, refers to the response or the consequent effect of what was said. It is a response may not be inspiring, insulting, persuading or convincing, deterring and or scaring. The aim of this act is to change feelings, thoughts or actions. These are the example of action in performing speech. In locutionary act, it is the line. For example, am I not enough? In illocutionary, it is the intention of the line, am I not enough? It is to express her or his frustration to the person who cheated on her or him. So the person which is the cheater realized that what he or she did was wrong. And it is called the effect or the perlocutionary act. So let's proceed to the types of delivery speech. The first one is impromptu speaking, which is the speaker is the one who provide their speech. For example, introducing yourself. The next is an extemporaneous speaking. It is done by natural and conversational speaking style. It involves little preparation as the speaker may use notes or cards to give his talks. Example, the student is answering a teacher's question in front of the class. The next is manuscript speaking. It is a word iteration of a written message. The speaker maintains his or her attention on the printed page except when using visual aids. The example of this is the SONA or the State of the Nation Address of the President. And the last is the memorized speaking. It is when a speaker commits an entire speech to memory. The example of these are the artists of a film. They are memorizing of their script to play their role. And now, let's proceed to Lesson 2, Teaching Speaking. Teaching speaking is to teach on how to speak by teaching the English speech, sound and sound pattern. Second, on how to use connect words and sentence, stress, intonation pattern, and the rhythm of the second language. There are three components of speaking. First one is the knowledge of language. It is an understanding of an ability to employ language such as phonetics, rules, spelling, syntax, and grammar. The second one is core speaking skills. It is the center of speaking skills. There are the fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And the last one is the communication and discourse strategies. Communication strategy is a plan for communicating with your target audience. Discourse strategy refer to the strategies employed during their conversations as an attempt to understand each other in a particular context of the conversation.
Good morning, leaders. Good morning, sir. I am Angeline Joy Alpama, the reporter about this Gu and Burns teaching speaking cycle. So, this model aims to highlight a number of key concepts that teacher can draw on to guide their student. So, as you can see, the teaching speaking cycle of Gu and Burns, it covers 7 stages. So, first is focus learners' attention on speaking. So Burns 2019 opined that the speaking cycle starts with focusing learners' attention in speaking. So in this stage, the instructor or the teacher increases students' understanding of their own metacognitive processes as they learn a second language. So speaking a foreign language, by reflecting on their experiences speaking that language. So second is provide input and or guide planning. So the teacher needs to allow learners to plan before the real speaking test. So in this stage number 2, students learn a variety of fundamental speaking skills and develop fluency in the expression of meaning while participating in the class activities. Next, students learn a range of core speaking skills and develop fluency in the expression of meaning while conducting class activities or speaking exercises. So third is conduct speaking tasks. So teachers provide speaking tasks for students to practice. So here, student practice a communicative speaking task with a focus on fluency. So fourth is focus on language, skills, strategies. So in this stage, the teacher draws learners' attention to selected parts of the fluency task, which may include pronunciation, grammar, and text structures, as well as vocabulary. So according to Cohen and Henry 2020, speaking strategies are classified into four types. So it is retrieval, rehearsal, communication, and cover. So in this stage number 4, the instructor emphasized vocabulary, grammar, and social, and linguistic convention of speech in relation to the speaking task. So, core speaking skills and communication strategies are also highlighted. So, fifth is repeat speaking task. So, at this stage, learners carry out the speaking task from the stage 3 again. So, at this stage, the activity is performed a second time. So, sixth is direct learners' reflection on learning. So, this stage enables to learners to
Sir, good morning, classmate. My name is Jonalyn Pipachos. I am one of the reporter of Group 6. So my report is about assessing speaking. Assessing speaking skills entails teacher to pay attention. Number 1, fluency. Fluency means speaking easily, reasonably, quickly without having to stop and pause a lot. Number 2, pronunciation. Pronunciation is the act of producing the sounds of speech, including articulation, stress, and intonation. Number 3, vocabulary. Vocabulary refers to the body of the word used in a particular language. Number 4, accuracy refers to the correct use of the language system. Number 5 is interaction. Interaction refers to the ability to interact with others during communication tasks. There are 5 types of speaking assessment tasks. Number 1, imitative. Number 2, intensive. Number 3, responsive, interactive. And 5 is extensive. Assessing speaking using rubrics. In speaking assessment, the teacher needs to integrate all the parameters that constitute effective speaking. So, imitative is the ability to imitate a word of a phrase or possibly sentence. Intensive speaking goes one step beyond imitative to include any speaking performance that is designed to practice some phonological and grammatical aspect of language. Number 2, intensive is producing a limited amount of language in a highly controlled context. An example of this would be to be read aloud a passage of give a direct response to a simple question. Number 2, responsive. Responsive is a way of speaking with children that use reason and logic, encourage independence, using nurturing control, and encourage elaboration. Responsive language helps children develop oral language skills, self-expression, and social emotion, skills related to peer and adult interaction. Number 4 is interactive. Interactive speaking situation include face-to-face conversation and telephone calls in which we are alternately listening and speaking, and in which we have chance to ask for clarification, repetition, or slower speech from our conversation partners. And number 5 is extensive. Extensive is a type of speaking activity that involves learning speaking for longer periods of time and in form that controls speaking practice. That is the five types of speaking assessment tasks. So there are 2 types of rubrics. Number 1, holistic. Holistic rubrics leads the rater to evaluate or score the overall components of communication competence without separately considering another components of language production. Number 2 is analytical. This rubrics requires the rater to evaluate or score the components of language education separately. And that is all my report.